Let's talk about financial modeling best practices, and I'll include a PDF of all these best practices for you to take with you. The two most important rules are very, very easy. Rule number one, almost every single projection on your financial statements is a percent of revenue. Rule number two, look for patterns in the data. One data point doesn't make a trend, but a couple does, right? And so a good way to think about it is this. If I throw a ball across the room, an object in motion will stay in motion for a long period of time, right? Okay. So most public companies have revenue growth that is slowing, right? That object in motion, right? Revenue growth is slowing. It's not their fault. They're just big companies. And so private companies that are backed by venture capital firms have revenue growth that's accelerating. And once revenue growth is decelerating a bit, the company goes public. And so a lot of great companies that are publicly traded have revenue growth that's slowing. It's not their fault. So if you see that revenue growth is really accelerating for a company that's publicly traded, there's a very good chance they bought a company, okay? They made an acquisition. And that's not organic growth. That's non-organic growth. And you have to know the difference between the two of them. We'll look at that in an exercise soon. Number five, if revenue growth is down a lot, what happens is the company focuses on improving profits. Why? Because the growth investors want revenue growth to be high, but if revenue growth is slowing too much, then growth investors won't buy the stock. And so management will basically try to make profits go up more, so value investors will buy the stock. Number six, don't talk to the CFO or CEO or IR until you built your model. We covered this before. They're great salespeople. Number seven, if a company has a lot of cash, they'll buy shares or other companies. And sometimes they'll issue a dividend as well, okay? And if the company has too much cash, then what happens is activist investors might buy the stock, get on the board, and force the company to restructure or issue a big dividend. Or heck, somebody could take it private even. Okay, number eight, forecasting tax is really, really hard. Just use the historical tax rate, okay? And you can find that in the SEC filings, which we'll cover soon. Okay. Number nine, hard-coded items, right? And you'll see these on all the financial statements we're going to create. Hard-coded items mean non-formulas. They should be in blue. It means you hard-coded and you type them in. Don't worry, this will make sense soon. Number 10, items linked to another Excel tab should be in green. This is just a standard I created that I really think makes sense because the whole modeling process gets so complicated if you don't have different color coding. I'll show you in a minute. Add many comments to your model, right? In Windows, you type Shift F2 in Excel and you can add a comment. In Mac, what you do is you right-click on a cell and you can add a comment. And the reason you do this is because you'll come back and revisit this model in the future, and it's really confusing if you don't know what you were thinking at that point in time when you entered information in that model, okay? And if you're working on big teams and you enter in comments, you should put your initials first at the beginning and the date as well, just so your team knows who wrote what. Number 12. If the model is too complicated for you, dumb it down by grouping items together. And I'll show this to you in the example. Modeling is an art and a science. And I promise you, you'll never be 100% right. You just want to be directionally correct, okay? Don't get worried if you're not 100% right. Nobody ever is. Number 14, when you're done with your model, sleep on it and then revisit it the next morning, right? And if you still feel great about what you've created, then you're done. Number 15, know the size of the market, right? The total addressable market for a sanity check. And I'll be doing this with the LinkedIn case study soon. Number 16, add every little piece of data that the company provides you in the quarterly earnings press releases to your model, even if you don't use it. Number 17, percent items should be italicized, right? Number 18, spend a lot of time prettying up your model. Make it look perfect, right? Even the formatting and everything. I know it sounds crazy, but just take pride in having a perfect model or a model that's easy to read, I should say. Number 19, you have the same access as the professionals do, okay? Have fun doing this. They don't have an edge on us anymore, right? You get access to the same amount of information that they do because of the internet and because of government regulations called Reg FD or fair disclosure, okay? You have the same access as everybody else. Name your rows, okay? And this is what I mean. What you can do is you can highlight a row, right? Like row 9, see? And then go up to the top left-hand corner of Excel and type in revenue. And that way, it's like using English instead of code, right? Instead of saying divide cell X by cell Y, whatever, you can say divide it by revenue, right? And that goes into your formulas.